Double C on my jacket like Caitlyn Clark. Flau'jae Johnson called it with her reference to CC in her song, because finally Nike has unveiled the signature CC logo, which features 2 C's. Caitlyn Clark, of course, her name. I've joked about this situation for a while when people wonder what was going on with Nike, and I just can't imagine they would sign her to the deal that they did and then not eventually have some big product on the way. And of course, she is part of the partnership as well. Perhaps she could have been promoted more in the meantime, but regardless, she's so popular, all you got to do is drop a link.
Caitlyn Clark's new Nike logo just sent sales through the roof. Fans rushed to buy everything in sight. Online stock vanished in hours, and Nike's numbers spiked overnight, all from one launch. That proves the Clark effect is real. But how did a single logo create this kind of frenzy? Before we even talk about Nike's sales explosion, you have to understand why Caitlyn Clark has become the most powerful name in women's basketball.
If you are hoping to get your hands on the Caitlyn Clark version of Nike's Kobe Bryant sneaker, you're out of luck. They are out of stock. The WNBA star teamed up with Nike for a player edition of the Kobe 5 Pro Tro, decked out in Indiana Fever colors. You see them on your screen. They dropped at 10 a.m. Monday, and they sold out before 11 a.m. In fact, in just minutes. The $190 kicks are already showing up on the secondary market at close to double the retail price.
This isn't just about points on the board. It's about an athlete who turned every arena she touched into a sold-out show. From her college days in Iowa, where ticket prices jumped overnight just to watch her shoot threes from impossible range, to the moment she entered the WNBA and instantly shattered viewership records, Clark didn't just arrive, she transformed the game. Jersey sales, gone in minutes. Road games suddenly felt like home games because entire arenas filled with fans wearing her number. Broadcasters started shifting schedules around her. Even secondary markets exploded, with ticket resellers doubling and tripling prices whenever she played. Analysts started calling it the Clark effect, a surge in attention, money, and momentum wherever she went. And it wasn't hype, it was hard numbers, millions tuning in to watch, merchandise topping charts, and brands realizing that Clark wasn't just an athlete, she was a phenomenon. Nike saw it too, and they weren't about to waste a second.
And all it took was for her to take to social media to make this announcement, for everybody to go into a frenzy, and for, I think, the vibes to pick up just a little bit. It's that genuine love the fans have for Caitlyn Clark. And the logo, pretty dope. Pretty dope, if I do say so myself. You see it right there. That's the look at it from the truck. They're going to be having to back up Brinks trucks to deal with all the orders that are coming for that sucker. But Caitlyn Clark makes the announcement, says that the signature line is on the way in 2026.
When Nike looked at Caitlyn Clark, they didn't just see a rising star. They saw the future of basketball branding. That's why they moved fast and unveiled her very own signature logo. A bold, interlocking C design that wasn't just a mark on clothing, it was a statement of identity. The shape looked simple at first glance, but fans quickly noticed the hidden details, the layered C's that symbolize both her name and her unmatched range on the court. This wasn't Nike tossing out another generic symbol. This was carefully crafted to become an icon. Billboards went up, teasers dropped online, and social media lit up with speculation about what was coming next. Clark herself teased the release with just enough mystery to drive fans wild. The rollout was deliberate, first the reveal, then the promise of exclusive gear, and the anticipation of a full line, and eventually her own shoe. Nike has done this before with legends like Michael Jordan, but doing it with a WNBA rookie, that was unheard of. It showed how seriously they were betting on Clark, and it worked, because the moment that logo went public, the frenzy started. The reveal of the logo was just the beginning. Nike knew they couldn't simply drop a design and call it a day. They had to build an entire storyline around Caitlyn Clark's brand, and that's exactly what they did. First came the teasers, a sleek black and gold shirt with the interlocking C, launched in fever colors, limited stock, and dropped with almost no warning. Within hours, it was sold out. Fans posted screenshots of empty carts and error messages because the demand completely overwhelmed Nike's online store. Then came the rollout plan, one step at a time. September was locked for the first wave of apparel: hoodies, tees, and performance gear stamped with the logo. The 1st of October was marked for the full line release, new collections hitting shelves right before the holiday rush. And then the bombshell: a signature shoe confirmed for 2026. That's right before Clark even finished her rookie season. Nike already promised her a sneaker deal usually reserved for NBA superstars. To put it in perspective, most athletes wait years for a signature shoe. Clark locked it in before she even unpacked her full rookie career. Every announcement only added more fuel to the fire. Social media buzzed with unboxing videos, streetwear influencers lined up for collabs, and collectors started reselling logo tees for double the retail price. Each step in the timeline felt like a cliffhanger in a television series. Fans knew something bigger was always around the corner, and Nike fed that excitement with perfect timing. It wasn't just a product launch, it was a cultural event. The second Nike dropped Caitlyn Clark's logo gear, the market went wild. It wasn't just fans buying a shirt, it was an avalanche. Online orders surged so fast that stock was gone in less than a day. Stores reported lines wrapping around corners as people tried to grab anything with the new emblem. Even resale sites lit up overnight, with basic tees flipping for 2 or 3 times the retail price. And then came the ripple effect. Nike's stock itself ticked upward, analysts pointing directly to Clark as the reason. A 3% spike doesn't sound massive until you realize that for a company like Nike, it translates to billions in value. And remember, this was just from a logo launch, not even the signature shoe yet. Business Insider started projecting that once the full line in the sneaker hit in 2026, Clark's brand alone could generate hundreds of millions annually, with some reports floating numbers north of $150 million in revenue from her gear alone. Think about that: one rookie, one logo, and suddenly Nike is seeing a return that rivals veteran NBA stars. This wasn't a gamble for Nike, it was a jackpot. And for the WNBA, it meant more eyes, more money, and more momentum than ever before. But here's where it gets even bigger, because this wasn't just about quick cash, it was a turning point for women's sports as a whole. What made the Clark effect so explosive wasn't just the sales, it was the message behind them. For decades, women's sports lived in the shadow of men's leagues, treated as an afterthought by major brands. But Nike saw something in Caitlyn Clark that flipped the script. This wasn't just about selling jerseys, it was about staking a claim on the future of basketball. Nike has always been known for betting big on generational talent. They did it with Michael Jordan in the 82nd, they did it with LeBron James in the 2002nd, and now they're doing it with Caitlyn Clark. The difference? Clark isn't just joining the list, she's rewriting the rules entirely. Because never before has Nike poured this much money, attention, and branding power into a WNBA rookie. Clark's $28 million Nike deal made headlines not only because of the dollar amount, but because it dwarfed nearly every women's sports contract before it. Just compare it to legends like Sheryl Swoopes or Lisa Leslie, who paved the way but never had a chance at numbers like these. Nike wasn't shy. They made it clear that Clark isn't just another athlete, she's the cornerstone of their gender offense strategy, a full-scale push to dominate women's sports. And it's not just about equality, it's about opportunity. The WNBA has seen record-breaking television ratings, sold-out arenas, and massive spikes in merchandise sales since Clark arrived, and Nike wants to be at the center of that growth. But here's the real kicker. Clark's success has created a ripple effect for other athletes too. Suddenly, Angel Reese, A'ja Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, and other WNBA stars are in higher demand than ever, with brands scrambling to secure sponsorships before the next breakout happens. It's not just Caitlyn, it's a rising tide lifting the entire league. Sports business analysts are calling this a once-in-a-generation inflection point, where women's sports are no longer seen as niche, but as the next big business frontier. And Nike is making sure they're the ones leading the charge. This wasn't a gamble, it was a strategy years in the making. By backing Clark early, Nike positioned themselves as the brand not just of the NBA, but of the WNBA, tapping into an audience that's younger, louder, and more engaged than ever before. Social media has only amplified it, turning Clark's logo into a cultural symbol. Whether you're a hardcore basketball fan or just a casual sneakerhead, the Clark logo became a statement of being part of the movement. And Nike knew exactly how to market it. Limited drops, viral ads, and tying Clark's story to empowerment narratives that resonated far beyond sports. The numbers don't lie. Nike's investment is paying off not only in sales, but in influence. This isn't just apparel, it's the start of a cultural shift. And with the Clark effect now cemented as a business case study, the only question left is how far it can go. If you thought the frenzy would calm down after the first wave of Caitlyn Clark's Nike gear sold out, think again. The Clark effect isn't slowing, it's accelerating. Every time she steps on the court, more records fall. Television ratings continue to break new highs, with national broadcasts pulling numbers that rival NBA regular season games. Ticket prices on resale markets climb the second her team is announced for an away game. Entire arenas are filling with fans in her logo gear, turning every matchup into a showcase not just for the Indiana Fever, but for the WNBA as a whole. As massive as the Clark effect has been, the big question everyone is asking is this: can it last? History shows us that hype is powerful, but it can also fade quickly if the momentum isn't managed. Nike is all in on Caitlyn Clark, but that also means the pressure on her shoulders is enormous. Every game she plays now carries the weight of not just her career, but a billion-dollar brand strategy. Critics have already raised concerns about burnout. Clark's relentless schedule, the media attention, and the constant expectations could easily take a toll. There's also the risk of oversaturation. If Nike floods the market too quickly, the exclusivity that made Clark's first drops sell out could vanish. Fans love limited releases, but once gear becomes too common, the resale buzz disappears and demand cools. And while the signature shoe is building hype like no other, that also means it faces sky-high expectations. If it doesn't deliver in style, performance, or storytelling, the disappointment could be sharp. Then there's the bigger question of whether this success is tied only to Caitlyn Clark or if it can elevate the entire WNBA ecosystem. Some analysts warn that too much focus on a single star could backfire if other players feel overshadowed. Nike has tried to balance this by pushing other athletes, but no one can deny Clark is the centerpiece. That spotlight brings opportunity, but also risk: one injury, one controversy, or even just a dip in performance could send shockwaves through the entire strategy. Yet here's the twist. Even with all these risks, the Clark effect already proved it's bigger than one launch. The demand for her logo, the spike in Nike sales, the rise in WNBA ratings, those aren't just trends, they're signals of a cultural shift. And while challenges are real, the potential reward is far greater. That's why Nike isn't hesitating. They know the window to cement Clark's brand as a generational empire is open right now, and they're determined to push it as far as it will go. Nike understands this momentum and is treating Caitlyn's brand like a long-term franchise, not a one-time push. That's why they've carefully staggered the product timeline. The September drops gave fans a taste. October's wider apparel release keeps the energy rolling into the holiday season. And looming over all of it is the 2026 signature shoe, the crown jewel that could define her legacy in the sneaker world. Insiders are already calling it the most anticipated women's basketball shoe of all time. Some reports even suggest Nike plans to build an entire marketing campaign around its release, complete with exclusive events, global tours, and crossovers into mainstream fashion. But Clark's influence isn't limited to sales. She's redefining what it means to be a superstar in women's sports. She's become the bridge between die-hard basketball fans and casual audiences who might never have watched a WNBA game before. Social media clips of her logo reveal racked up millions of views within days, spreading far beyond sports circles into pop culture. Younger athletes now see her as proof that women's basketball can create icons on the same level as the NBA's biggest names. And perhaps most importantly, she's forcing corporations, networks, and sponsors to invest more seriously in the women's game. The anticipation around her next moves has created a constant cycle of speculation. What will the shoe look like? Will Nike tie it to a major event? Could her brand cross into lifestyle fashion the way Jordan did? Fans, media, and analysts are all watching closely because the truth is, Caitlyn Clark's brand is no longer just about her. It's about reshaping the entire conversation around women's sports and the business behind it. And as the buzz builds toward 2026, one thing is clear: the Clark effect isn't going anywhere. It's only getting bigger.